On a man-made island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, we are about to see a new piece of Australian sim racing made. We are here for season one, round one of the JINX Shifters Super 2 series for V8 supercars. And we're only got a few minutes to go in qualifying now. The drivers are out there setting their lap times, doing their best to get into the top split of this competition and setting their places on the grid for the start of the race. And here with me to call all the action tonight is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Double D. It's Dave Douglas. How you going, Dave?
Good, good. G'day, guys. Yeah, pretty excited to get this up today. It's a big build up this week and before. Yeah, pretty excited to see it all pans out.
Well, there's been a huge build-up, hasn't there? Righto?
Excellent, mate. So what I've done is I've just made a little change to RMS to accommodate the combined classes. So if you'd like to restart it at your leisure, it'll have an update there ready to go for you.
Well, what else to say about it? I'm keen. I'm itching to go. I like racing, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, the track itself here, most people are going to be familiar with it, aren't they, from Formula One? It's hosted many different series over the years. It's actually been in operation since 1978 after they decided that the Montreal circuit was getting a little bit too dangerous for modern racing cars. And we've seen Formula One here, of course, the World Sports Car Championship, Champ Cars run here, the NASCAR series is run here, Grand Am Sports Cars all run here. And it's certainly a very popular venue. Got a bit of a street circuit vibe to it, even though it is a purpose-built track. It's still public road, I believe, for a lot of the year. And of course, as well, it's got that famous Wall of Champions that everybody talks about. And one thing that I just wanted to cover off before we get too deeply into the serious stuff here, we're going to have a little bit of track trivia question for everyone out there at home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to each week in this series going to ask a little piece of trivia about the circuit that we're at, and we're going to see how many guys actually manage to give us the correct answer. Try not to cheat in Google. Google is cheating. And Dave, we're going to see if you know the answer as well. So the famous Wall of Champions, which is the wall on the right-hand side out of the final chicane, so called because in 1999 Formula One Grand Prix here, 3 world champions came to grief on that very corner, knocking themselves out of the race. Don't answer me now if you know this, Dave. We're going to answer it later on. But do you believe you know who those 3 world champions were?
Oh, mate, you got me, but I'll have a crack. But later on, we'll have a crack.
Have a crack later on, mate. Have a little bit of a think as we're going through. And also, guys out there, if you're watching us anywhere on Facebook or YouTube or any of the platforms that we're streaming on, leave a little comment down there as well, and you can see later on if you got it right. And once again, I say Google is cheating. Use your brains. It's like using calculator in math class.
Definitely cost my mind.
Yeah. Just give it a little bit of thought and see if you can work it out. So just to give you a little bit of a clue, there were 4 world champions in that race, and one of them won the race. The other 3 came to grief against that famous
Interesting.
wall. So we'll see how many people out there actually know that little bit of history. But we're making history here at the moment because very first qualifying session. And at the moment, in the qualifying session that we are watching here, Joshua B. Thomas is top of the tree. Nobody has beat that 134.9 as yet. But of course, we've got many qualifying sessions going on at the moment. There are two other servers open, so it's not far away guaranteed that Mr. Thomas is going to be starting from pole tonight.
Yeah, and as you're talking about them track facts, it is a very technical track, this one. It rewards patience, especially in these V8 powered rear-wheel drive supercars. Be very patient on the throttle, especially out of some of them turns, especially out of turn 7 coming onto that back straight section, if you will. Really need to hold it out there, use the throttle. You give a short shift, get the momentum going, but especially through that last chicane as well is very tricky. There's a few tricky corners on this one.
And Dave, of course, you drive these cars fairly regularly, so you certainly know your way around how to get the speed out of these things. I did a couple of laps earlier on just to try and get a little bit of a gauge, and everybody knows I'm off limit. But I found that the throttle application out of the slow corners is so crucial to get right. You can cost yourself so much lap time. You don't actually get that bang on. If you spin the wheels up or don't get on the throttle hard enough, you can absolutely completely lose yourself a bunch of time down the front of the straight.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely, there's a fine line because they're not accelerate enough, basically, and the end of it is too much acceleration and end up spinning. So easy to make and lose time. Tough track.
Okay, so we have actually seen the checkered flag here now for this particular server. Of course, all the servers running simultaneously at the moment. So, as we mentioned, Josh B. Thomas, he is the fastest one in this particular session. Brody Scott sitting there in second. Daniel Hedderschelt, reasonable lap there for third. And then we go back to Matthew Kidd, Michael Stewart, Jonathan Ben with a good lap there, and Tony Gaffer being the top drivers in particular split. But this one's going to close up now. We're going to lose vision for a little bit of while, just while the race server gets all together, and then we're going to be able to come back with the race session for you, and we'll have everybody gridded up good, proper. So I guess just in the meantime, while we're waiting for all of that to take place, while the qualifying and everything is basically just finishing up. I think a couple of guys are just finishing on their laps there, but we haven't seen anything spectacular actually happening as far as chart topping times. We might just have a little bit of a chat about the series sponsors here, because we've got some fantastic series sponsors here for this series, and not least of which is JINX Shifters, who are the title sponsor for the Super 2 series here. And of course, they're involved in the manufacture. They manufacture sequential shifters for your sim rig. So they have shifters. They also have anti-roll bars and adjustable brake bias bars. Everything that you see in the center section of a V8 supercar, you can actually get for your very own sim rig, and bolt it all in there and interactive away from what the motions and the feelings of the in, and we already got ducks nuts out of you, so we know we're actually going quite well. But of course, we've got a Brizzy Racewear on board as well. They deal with custom designed gloves, boots for sim racing, karting. They'll do your custom designed team wear. It's your wear, your way. Racewear. They will custom make your team gear for you, and they've got custom karting suits out, and they've actually just got some CIK level 2 certified karting suits as well. So that's a big deal for them.
Yeah, nice.
And, they're really sort of going through now. They started out with the gloves and the boots, and they've moved on to the team wear. Now they're moving on to officially certified race gear. So it's going to be fascinating to see where that company goes in the future. Of course, they're distributing not only where they come from, which I believe is over in Europe, but they are distributing now out of Australia, Asia, New Zealand, all that kind of area. So it's really becoming a real global thing.
Had my eye on a few sets they put up. Actually, there's a lot of designs you can get. It's fully customizable, so they're a handy bit of kit, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't. Once again, haven't heard about. So everybody that you see always very satisfied with that gear when it comes through. And our other main sponsor tonight, of course, is Simfinity. They deal with Australian designed. They're strong but affordable 80/20 sim rigs. So they build all the sim rigs. So when you're talking about a rig, in case anybody doesn't know exactly what you're talking about the framework, that the seat and the pedals and your steering wheel and your jinx shifter, if you've got one, all bolt on onto this and really does form, I guess, a simulated sort of cockpit. A lot of them will come with monitor stands and things like that as well, and some of them even customize them with button boxes and little toggle switches for your virtual race car as well. So great to have those guys on board. Top quality product, as I'm sure we're all aware. I think most people would have heard of Simfinity by now, and great to have them behind us in this series.
Yeah, definitely have everyone on board. Funny that all our sponsors sort of have gone hand in hand so far. 80/20 rigs, any 80/20 rigs, I should say, from Symphony up to bolt your jig shifter on, gloves and boots and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to top it all off, because if you go through that list, you've got your shifter, you've got your rig, you've got your race wear, so you look the part. And the last thing, of course, you're going to need is a little bit of an ability to actually get around the track properly. And that's where our final sponsor, Virtual Motorsport Mentor, comes in. Because those guys are basically tutoring service for guys, especially guys who are brand new. It can take a little while to get up to speed. I think we all remember when we first started jumping into a race server for the first time and just looking at some of the times these guys are putting down and thinking, how on earth can I ever match what those guys are doing? Virtual Motorsport Mentor will actually mentor you one on one to get you to that point. They can show you the little tips and tricks that you need to actually get from where you are right now up to the point where you are up there challenging for wins, winning races, and having a lot more fun in there. And it's extremely affordable, and they really get down into the nitty gritty of what you need, what your particular areas of improvement are to get you the maximum gain in lap time. And of course, lap time, as we all know in motor racing, equals results.
Really good what Chris Purnell's done over there with his running. From what I've seen, it's been pretty successful so far, and yeah, it's definitely helping drivers. So yeah, something, and you need a little bit more in your iRacing or racing the leagues, I guess. Yep.
Why not? Indeed. And just while we are waiting for that race server to come up, because we've probably got a couple more minutes. They do take a little while to set up, especially with such a large grid of cars. We've got a couple of videos to put forward. We've actually got a lap with Mr. Chris Purnell of Virtual Motor to guide us around this great Montreal circuit here. As we mentioned, on that man-made island, it's hard to believe, but it's a man-made island right there in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. He's going to guide us around how to actually get around this place. So, with no further ado, we might hand it over to Mr. Chris Burnell. Yes. not, but we've just got a couple of little things going on in the background, one of those little teeth. But looking out over this race tonight, of course, Dave, you've done so much of this V8 supercar racing in the past. You've run races here. You understand how the track evolves. What are you expecting to see tonight in terms of well, what's likely to catch the drivers out, how the race is going to play out? How do you think it's all going to turn out?
Yeah, well, from the start, I guess, quite sort of kinked down in turn one. So turn one and two is pretty dangerous here, especially off the start. So it's going to be a bit of a hot spot there, maybe in the back of the field. Yeah. Hopefully not, but yeah. And then as you go up the hill there out of two, it tightens in. So there's balls each side. So there's not much room for error. So bit of incident. It's probably going to be a big one there.
Certainly is, and that's just one of those things, isn't it, about the run down to turn one, because it's bent. It's not a straight run down into the first turn. There's actually a slight right hand sort of fade straight, and well, it makes it a little bit more difficult to pick that breaking point, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And especially on stone cold tires off the start here, it's going to be hard to hit your mark. Basically, easy to run wide, and then if you shortcut, there's grass, and you know what the grass is like these days. So you go straight through to the other side of the track. Yeah, let's hope we don't see it happen, but there's a possibility.
Also, I remember the big accident we saw with Alex Verts back in the 1998 edition of the Canadian Grand Prix, where he's essentially made that mistake, got his braking all wrong, gone across the grass, and ended up sort of going on two wheels between two other cars and making a whole bunch of carnage. And we have seen quite a bunch of
Yeah,
carnage. Yeah, so just getting word through, just waiting for that race up still. But of course, there've been so many different occurrences at this track over the years, and of course, the start finish line didn't actually used to be exactly where it is now. It used to be back just after that last hairpin on that back straight. There used to be a series
yeah,
of S bends there instead of that straight, and that's where the start finish and the pits and all that used to be. And of course, later on, they sort of moved it a little bit further up the road, which I think is probably a much better spot for it, to be honest. And for some reason as well, this track seems to be prone to drivers running afoul of the red light at the end of the pit lane. We've seen a couple of years now where Formula One drivers have actually run afoul of the end of the pit lane there, and and for whatever reason just missed the red light that comes out under safety car or whatever. So getting themselves disqualified that way. So it's yeah, it has been a bit of a problem for some drivers in the past.
yeah. Actually, mine basically is when they all concertinaed at the end of the pit lane. Someone stopped for the red light, and obviously the driver behind wasn't looking. I can't remember who it was. I think Vettel was involved.
Was Lewis
Um,
Hamilton into Kimi Raikkonen?
yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, so that was an interesting one. So hopefully we don't get into that tonight, obviously, but never know.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. And from memory, I think it was Nico Rosberg back when he was in Williams that's actually jammed on his brakes in front. Raikkonen's just pulled up, and Lewis has just gone sailing right into the back of him. So yeah, and then there was a moment where they're both sort of trudging back to their pits, and Raikkonen just a tap on the shoulder and says, "Mate, red light there, red
Yeah,
light."
gotta love Kimmy.
Yeah,
He likes me.
yeah, absolutely. So and he's going around for another season, of course, Alfa Romeo. Yeah. Last year of his contract on that particular car as well. So I wonder
Fair
if we're going
enough.
to see. I wonder if we're going to see him back again for 2021 with that big rule change. You'd almost think with such a big rule change, would it be worth going through for a driver who's been around as long as he has to continue on and learn, all the nuances of the new aero and everything else that they have to deal with. So. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see if he continues on and who replaces him if he decides not to.
Well, that's it. He's definitely capable of doing it. When he had that hiatus when he went to do WRC, I believe,
Yeah,
sort of disappeared off and then had a crack at that and came back and was successful coming back. So yeah, if anyone can do it, it's going to be him. That's for sure.
yeah. I just remember how he used to underplay everything. All saying because, of course, in the time that he was away, DRS, and he came back and he's like, they're like, oh, Kimmy, how are you going to cope with the DRS and everything like this? And he goes, just an extra button.
Yeah, yeah,
It's still the
that's
same
Kimmy.
sport. Yeah, that's
Kimmy.
Kimmy. And yeah, of course, he did a little bit when he went away too, didn't he? He did a little bit of rally driving, and he also did a little bit of NASCAR.
Yeah.
So he did a truck race and an Xfinity Series race as well, which were quite funny to hear him on the radio. Of course, you remember his infamous calls on the radio to Ferrari asking for his gloves and steering wheel. But in this particular NASCAR race, it was his water bottle. And every time he came to the pits, the water bottle had run out or hadn't been filled properly or anything. And he's all, as he is on the radio, if you've ever heard Kimmy on the radio, which I'm sure everybody out there has, um, he, he was very much the same. But funny to hear a Finnish accent, over the radio in NASCAR.
Oh, he's brilliant. Worth every cent, I reckon.
Certainly is. And of course, we've got we've got the Australian Grand Prix coming up fairly shortly as well.
Again.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of talk around at the moment about the legalities or otherwise of Ferrari's engine last year, and politics and everything already, which is very Formula One, very Formula One. And yeah, of course, you've got everyone sort of hoping that Dan Ricciardo has a better race than he did last year. Couldn't exactly be worse than it was last year.
A little bit of hype there last year, and obviously he went down the inside and clipped the front wing on the exit grass of all things.
And they fixed that now too. That little
Yeah.
service road, they've actually patched it up. So
Thank goodness.
So-
That destroyed it from the beginning. He made 200 meters and it was over.
yeah, it was. And it's funny. One of the great things about Melbourne and just the way that the track is sort of set out, the way the spectators are there and everything I'm not sure if it's the way they position the TV mics or what, but you can really hear the fans over the microphones at the track. And that was one of those things. Even over the sound of the cars, after Ricardo's wing came off, you could hear the whole grandstand go, "Oh!"
Electric around the country, to be honest.
Yeah, that sigh was around absolutely everywhere. And
Yeah.
there's actually a really good video getting around on YouTube of the qualifying from 2015, I believe it was, and it was a wet dry qualifying there, and it was Ricardo's first year in the Red Bull. And Vettel got knocked out in Q2. He didn't make it in, and the crowd's gone ballistic. I actually happened to be there for that, so I was one of those voices. And
I remember that.
yeah, you hear the crowd go absolutely ballistic. And then in then Q3, Ricardo comes around the final corner, puts it on pole at the time. It was pole.
Yeah.
And you hear the crowd go nuts. And then about 10 seconds later, Lewis goes across the line and beats it. You hear the whole crowd again just, oh,
Yeah.
no. So yeah, very very good location for that. There are a few places that really give the crowd the opportunity to do that. Monza and Silverstone, of course, others. So we'll
good venue.
Yeah, very good venue, and of course the Bahrain Grand Prix this year is going to be run completely without spectators. There'll be no one there.
Yeah. Going to be interesting.
Wow,
I've
interesting
seen
is a strong word.
yeah, well, in a comment on Facebook, 7 spectators are going to be devastated about.
Yeah, exactly right. It certainly wasn't they do definitely tend to host races in places that pay money. And there's certainly no shortage of that in Bahrain, but it's not necessarily a classic race. So anyway, you've got to have races like that to make the classics seem even better. That's the way I look at it.
Live test session is going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bernie Eccleston a few years ago was actually looking at the potential of holding Grand Prix. I think he was actually looking at Paul Ricard as being a race that he wanted to show without not having any spectators at all, just make it a TV only race. And thankfully, that idea got shut down. But I just wonder if this whole virus situation, everything else, is just an excuse to trial that.
Possibly. Bernie's had a few of them bad scientist ideas in the sprinklers race on the track.
Yeah, usually he's just distracting from something else.
Yeah, well, that's right.
But anyway, Bernie not in charge anymore, of course. Chase Carey and Ross Brawn and Sean Bratches calling the shots there. I think Sean Bratches has just left, actually. But anyway, definitely a new group doing it, though I can't help but think that Bernie's just going to suddenly pop up again at one point. He certainly does a good job of popping up places. So anyway, still just waiting for that race server to come up. I believe that there's just such a large grid for everyone to go through. There's a few qualifying penalties as well. So if you're wondering why it's taking a bit of extra time to just get this all set up, that's essentially why. They need to. They're just needing to click buttons and fiddle with knobs and click other things and push other things, and hopefully everything will just pop out correctly.
That's it. Getting problem being a new league, so yeah, we'll run with it.
Certainly is. I can talk about that. We've actually just had in our Discord a great photo shared of the Kimi Räikkönen we were just talking about a little while ago. It's a GIF actually of Kimi Räikkönen dabbing, which is something I never thought I'd see. It's a shame I don't have the ability to share that across the stream because anyway, it exists. It's something that you guys can know exists. But even looking forward to this season, of course, one of the other big stories that have come out around the motorsport hemisphere, I suppose, is Scott McLaughlin best in the car for Penske. And of course, it's
Mm.
one of the great things about Team Penske and being involved with a team of that size is it really does give you a direct avenue to go over and try other forms. He's just impressed massively. He went over to a test having never driven, well, only barely driven the car before for a couple of laps amongst all the regulars and put it in the top three.
Yeah, impressive. It is Penske gear, but body is a natural talent, so I have a feeling he's going to do very well for himself.
And the interesting thing is, of course, that he's doing the Indy GP this year, which for those who don't know, it's not the Indy 500, actually it's run a couple of weeks before, and it's using the Formula One Indianapolis road course. So it's I guess a little bit more of what he's used to, rather than sending him straight out onto a super speedway oval. And with that as well, there's actually a rumor that we're going to see Fernando Alonso do that race as well, because of course he's doing
Oh,
the Indy 500
yeah, nice.
along with McLaren, because McLaren SP are a full-time IndyCar team this year, running Oliver Askew and Pato O'Ward, a couple of
Okay.
rookies that have come through the Indy Light Series, and they're going to be running a third car for Fernando Alonso at the 500. Now, the rumor is that he's going to be doing more than that one race in the lead up to that, so he might be actually looking at Indy GP as well. So, who would have thought even 12 months ago that we'd be seeing Fernando Alonso and Scott McLaughlin on the same grid?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be cool actually. Spectacle. Yeah, look, not not the biggest fan, but I hope he does well as our adopted Australian, I guess you could say, being a Kiwi. Yeah, I hope he does well, and I think he will.
Yeah, I think he certainly will. I mean, big expectations now, but I mean, if he can qualify sort of upper mid pack, that'd be an incredible achievement for a first time out. I think got every opportunity to doing that in such a good car. But of course, with that comes along with that is the expectation as well and the pressure. So
Certainly.
there's a lot more attention on that series, and let's hope that it doesn't get to him. I mean, he's proven on a number of occasions he can cope with pressure. I mean, I remember when he just started out and he was racing Jamie Whincup wheel to wheel with no issues whatsoever. No signs of nervousness or anything like that. So, if he's got the ability to do that, hopefully he can have the ability when the eyes of the world are upon him. And not only that, it has also sort of helped, I think, our series in Australia. We've actually got proper coverage over here
Yeah, which
now
is
through
good.
Fox for the first time in yes, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And Roger Penske now, of course, having being the owner of that series, is the man who has got a good eye across the entire motorsport world. And you never know, could we see Gold Coast Indy come back as a result?
Yeah, well, it was talked about, wasn't it? It was idea popped up. If it was sort of mid last year or something, but even a NASCAR idea popped up. Oh, they sound good, but whether they actually come to fruition, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be fantastic, I think, to see the Gold Coast Indy back. It was always one of those iconic races.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm right in saying that it was the first IndyCar race actually held outside of the North American continent. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right in saying that. And it was certainly a big hit when it was on. And of course, it all sort of started up in the era where Nigel Mansell had just made the move across from Formula One, and IndyCar was on the radar of the entire world because of that. So it's got
yeah,
to, yeah, if we can see something like that happen again, with Alonso there, and of course the added interest from Australia, New Zealand, seeing Scott McLaughlin there, that's going to be absolutely fantastic.
yeah. I was lucky enough to get down to a IndyCar race. think it was '04. I think it was when David Bernard actually did a wild card with that bloke's name. Black car, he had a blue helmet. I can picture it. I just can't think of the name.
Newman Haas?
No,
No, it wasn't Newman Haas. I remember Jason Bright doing
he did one as well.
one. I don't remember the Bernard one, but I know Bernard was very, very good. I believe he ran Indy Lights.
Yeah, okay.
And he was very successful over there. So, but I do definitely remember the Jason Bright one. I remember him getting taken out while he was running fifth or something like that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, a long time ago now. We're sort of stretching the memory.
Exactly.
So, little bit different. So I'm just frantically refreshing here, just trying to see where. Here we go. We've actually got the race servers. Race servers are up, everyone. Race servers are up. So we'll just make sure that we're jumping into that top split there, because we're going to be broadcasting the top split, and I believe, and I'm not going to. In fact, I believe they're doing something for the bottom split as well, but it's not going to be live. But I could be wrong. So I'm going to keep that to myself, apart from what I just said. So. All right, so just getting the race server in right now. As soon as we do that, we're going to have a look through the grid. So we'll actually have a confirmed starting grid for you guys. So we can actually get an idea of where everyone's going to be starting. Which obviously, we all want to know about. We'll see if Mr. Thomas managed to stay up there on pole position. So just having a couple of small issues on my end, just logging into this one, but I'm sure I will be along with the rest of you guys soon. All right, guys, we're back. We rescued it. We rescued it. Well, personally, I didn't rescue it. I didn't rescue it. The techies rescued it. I've just been sitting here exchanging humorous gifts with the drivers while we've all been waiting here, as patiently as you guys have been out there. iRacing decided, I believe, to just release a little update to the Porsche, our Porsche safety car, right before our servers went live, which was the problem. So we've got it rectified now. We're ready to go. And as promised earlier on, we didn't quite get it happening for you. As promised earlier on, we've got a video on board with Chris Purnell talking us around a lap of this Montreal circuit. So we might just hand it over to Chris right now to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what the drivers are going to be dealing with tonight.
How you going, guys? It's Chris Pennell for Illusion Motorsport and the Virtual Motorsport Mentor 920. Today we're going to be taking you on a lap preview for the JINX Super2 Series for round 1 at Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. As we come out of the last corner, we're going to go to the left-hand side of the track to open the corner up. You want to brake at the first escape road as the corner comes, down to second gear. A little bit of curve on the entry, back down to first. Use the curve on the entry, hug the apex, carry the speed out. You want to shift up to fourth gear and carry that speed. Once you get to the blue wall on the inside, brake, back down to second. A little bit of curve on the inside, a little bit more on the outside through the middle of the corner. Carry that speed, third, fourth. Use the wall, lift slightly, back down to second. Use a little bit of curve on entry, not too much, otherwise it'll upset the rear of the car and it'll make you wheel slide all the way out of the corner. You want to carry the speed, you want to go up to fifth gear. On the inside there's a barrier just before the bridge. That's my brake marker, back down to second. Turning, use quite a bit of curve on the entry. It won't bounce across the curve as hard. Up to third, fourth, fifth. You want to stay wide to open up your entry. You brake at the escape road, back down the first gear. Hug the inside of the hairpin, not too tight, but tight enough that you can get the car straight on the exit and pick up the power to carry the speed the whole way down the back straight. This is where you set up for the last corner and probably one of the hardest corners on the circuit. So you want to go to the left-hand side of the circuit. I use the bridge as a brake marker. I go from sixth to second gear. I use quite a lot of curve on the entry of the apex. Hit that, bounce off there, carry the speed to the wall, and then finish by chasing it back out to the left-hand side to set up for the following lap. And that's a lap of Montreal. If you guys enjoyed that, make sure you give Virtual Motorsport Mentor a like. And if you have any issues
All
or
right,
inquiries,
guys. So that should give you a little bit of an idea if you weren't familiar with this circuit beforehand, or even if you were, the unique challenges the V8 supercar driver will face weaving a 1.5-ton piece of equipment around this windy ribbon of concrete lined difficulty. So Dave, we've only got a couple of minutes of this warm up left to go. Joshua Thomas has got the fastest lap so far. We just waiting on the official qualifying times to come through. We'll get to see that when the drivers start to grid up. But any final thoughts before we get going on this one? Start of a brave new year.
Yeah, not really. Excited to get it going. We're finally here. Going to get a green flag. Good. One thing we've got to mention: 25 laps. CPS involved, and we have a manual safety.
We do have a manual safety car. We've got Kobe Jones driving our Porsche safety car tonight. So we're not going to be using the old iRacing Porsche. We've got a nice new Porsche Cayman running around performing that function for us tonight. So not sure whether or not we're going to see that during the race. Hopefully not. Never can tell, especially with all the wrecks being contained in between these concrete walls a lot of the time. So drivers just finishing up the warm-up now. We've got around about 1 minute left before they're going to be gridding up for Season 1, Race 1 of the JINX Shifters Super 2 Series. And yeah, it looks like got a few drivers pushing the limits out there. We can see a few guys just dialing themselves in, but a few guys just overstepping that mark and looping the car around slightly. So yeah, hopefully they manage to get all that out of their system before the green flag.
Yeah, hopefully you can only hope. But as we've got to remember, it's a development series, so guys are still learning. But yeah, it's race, good night, and yeah, I'm looking forward.
Yeah, very difficult track to start on this one as well. You were remarking earlier on, David, about the circuit is, especially to get a V8 supercar around. And for these guys who may just be starting out in the development series, to start off with this place is going to be a little bit of a baptism of fire for them. But learning to survive the carnage is half the battle a lot of the time, especially starting down towards the back of the grid like some of these guys are. So we're just seeing we're getting to the end of the warm up now. So the cars are going to be starting to grid. As soon as I have that information, I'm going to start running through the starting grid for you guys. Just waiting for iRacing to generate that for me. And then we will know exactly where all these drivers are going to be starting off. So all right, so here we go. We have got Josh Morgan starting on pole. So he's done a decent lap there to get on pole ahead of Joshua Thomas, who we were watching in session earlier on. Then we've got James Ruwalt there, Stephen Varga, Lachlan Manif, Darren Caldwell, Bailey Bell, Michael Whiting, Marty Hansen, and Tyson McAvoy rounding out your top 10. Then going a little bit further back from there, we got Brody Scott, John Schultz, Bradley Hudswell, Daniel Hetterschild, Tim Crowley, Ben Morris, Tony Clark, Thomas Cool, Jamie Davis, Matthew Kidd, Michael Stewart, Jonathan Ben, Alexander Newton, Dean Albans, Cameron Veacock, Tony Gaffer, Paul Warwick, Michael Dumbrell. We're still going, guys. It's a big field. Benjamin Siren, Robert Dennis, Chris Kerr, Mario Vartinian, Hayden Harrison, rounding out our field of 33 drivers sitting there on the grid right now, ready to go. Bit of tension, and we are away. We're away. The two Fishy Motorsport drivers going off the front row together. Looks like a reasonably clean start as they run down to turn one. Josh Morgan has got the pace there, though, hasn't he? As I think Josh Thomas gets right up on two wheels, and that's going to make him vulnerable coming through the exit of turn one as they all go. He's still fishtailing that Commodore, and he's been jumped. Actually been jumped there by Stephen Varga, who's gone off himself. He's run off on the cold tyres at the chicane, up against the wall, and his race has ended just about before it started. Now carnage ensues as everybody tries to thread their way through. I've lost count of how many cars are involved in that. That is a major, major problem. I'm not sure if we're going to see a safety car.
That's that old tyres, they'll catch you out. So, look, this sort of safety car is being called right now.
Yeah, we've got the safety car. They couldn't really do anything else, could they? Looking at that, just saw, as we mentioned, that one particular car going around. I've even forgotten who it was now that went around. Made a great move and then completely lost it, and it just carnage ensued from there. A lot of drivers nowhere to go. And we mentioned earlier on, didn't we, about the wrecks being contained between the concrete walls, and that is exactly what we saw there.
Cold tyres and very easy to do, and happened.
Yeah, straight away. It absolutely happened immediately. So not sure if we're going to get a replay of that one for you, but it absolutely carnage. And there's going to be a lot of guys out there now nursing damaged cars. They're going to have to come back around to the pits. Fishy Motorsport guys are fine. They're sitting out there 1-2, absolutely loving life, as is James Ruwalt, who's sitting there in third place. Stephen Varga. Stephen Varga was the one who actually spun around a little bit earlier on. So yeah, he's carrying some major damage.
A lot wrong. He just maybe went in a little bit too hot, and said that the grip wasn't available. And once you get in there, there's walls all around. It's going to be chaos for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to take advantage of Thomas getting that big tank slapper on, didn't he? So he's wanted to really make the most of that. You don't know how many opportunities you're going to get to pass in a race like this. So he's obviously got on the throttle and just looks like he may have just ran in there a little bit too hot. But here we are now in behind the safety car, the Porsche safety car. I've got to get out of the habit of saying pace car, and I've got to say safety car. This is not my world. But these guys keeping their tyres nice and warm under the safety car. And I don't believe that the drivers are actually allowed to come in and make their compulsory pit stop yet. I believe they have to wait until lap 2.
That's right. I think it was the end of, once you cross the line for lap 2, you can stop. Pits are open under safety car. A CPS, it didn't count if you came in on the first.
Absolutely. So let's just go back. I'm just going to go quick back through the field and see if I can just identify cars which are carrying damage as a result of that one. And let me tell you, it's going to be quite a few. So just going back through drivers at the moment, most of the front guys look okay. We've got John Schultz. He's carrying a little bit of damage in the 78, a little bit of damage to the front. Brody Scott as well. He started 11th. He's running 9th at the moment, but he's carrying a lot of damage. A lot of clean cars in behind them, though. It looked like there was a bit of a group that got through. Chris Kerr carrying a fair bit of damage on the front end of that Commodore. Jonathan Benz caught a little bit as well. Michael Stewart's carrying some. Tony Clark's lost his bonnet completely. That is gone. Front of that Mustang, stoved in, that bright pink Mustang. You can barely miss it out there on the track, but it's got a bright pink panel missing. So if anybody finds a bright pink bonnet out there, we know who it came from. Going back through the field, Stephen Varga, of course, I guess the unwitting instigator of all of that, has copped a fair bit of damage for his trouble as well. We got Mario Vartinian out there without a boot lid, so I imagine he's going to have to come in pit. Marty Hansen's got damage. Ben Morris has got damage. A lot of cars have got damage. And I think we've actually just seen Josh Morgan come in the pits. So he's made his stop really, really early. Will that count for a CPS?
It will be, yes. So lap 2, so this will be crossing for lap 3, so that will definitely count. He's going to play the card here, and it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out. I'm not sure how many others followed him, or if any followed him.
Yeah, we've got a couple coming down. There's another one of the Fishy Motors cars in behind him. I think it's one of the Fishy cars. The 025 of Michael Whiting, who I believe runs that team. I can't see a lot of damage on Whiting's car, so he might just be doing that for strategic purposes. And of course, in behind him, got a couple of the others that were carrying fairly heavy damage on their cars as well. So lots of guys coming in to get the repairs. Paul Warwick in as well, another one of the Fishy Motorsport cars. So it looks as though the Fishy team are actually just hedging their bets at the moment. We've got one staying out and a whole bunch coming to the pit lane. We've got Ben Morris in from JP Sim Shed, probably to fix a little bit of damage. Tyson McAvoy's in the pit road as well. So all of those guys coming in and getting service. There's not going to be too much of a tyre advantage for them, but there could be a strategic advantage because, of course, under safety car conditions, everyone's driving slower. It's basically a free pit stop. You get to pit, get what you need, come back out and rejoin the back of that queue. The downside of it is you've got a whole field of cars you now have to get yourself through. So it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. Sometimes it can make you look like a genius, and sometimes it can all go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It's going to mix the field up massively now, but I know prior to hitting Paul Warwick he's taken his 7 on by. So yeah, as I said, we'll keep an eye on his progress. I think he's just one of the. It's going to be interesting. I don't think the Virtual Motorsport Mentor pace car is going to be too far from coming in.
Shouldn't be too far away now. Of course, the all the wreckage has been cleared up. It doesn't take long in sim racing. Thankfully, we don't have to get guys out there picking up pieces of carbon fiber or anything like that. It's a very, very quick process. So we're going to, if we're going green this time, I can't quite tell if we are or not at this stage. Once we do go green, it's going to be a complete restart for these guys. So they got a good jump for the first time. They've got to now try and get that done all again. Looks as though the pace car may be coming in this time round.
Possibly will. I think it'll stay out for another lap.
One more lap?
No, the control line for the safety car will pull away from the field at the hairpin. We'll keep an eye for that side. Lap they come back on the way.
Okay, so yeah, just got that one more lap. I could have sworn I saw the pace car heading in. That's what got all excited there. So, see a couple of the guys out there working to keep those tires nice and warm. Very difficult to do at its slow speeds such as this. And we might just have a quick run through the order. We ran through the starting grid for you, and of course that's all changed now. That big accident on the first lap. So Joshua Thomas still sitting there in the lead, having taken the lead away from his teammate when his teammates ducked into the pits there. So James Ruwalt sitting there in second for Pace Syndicate. Darren Caldwell, JP Simshed, sitting there third. Bailey Bell, Lachlan Manif, John Schultz, Bradley Huswell, Tim Crowley in eighth, Jamie Davis and Tony Gaffer making up your top 10. And Tony Gaffer started in 26th position, and he's up to 10th. Jamie Davis started in 19th. He's up to 9th. So there have been some really big movers there, and additionally some big losers. And we won't call Josh Morgan, who started on pole, is now running 28th. We won't call him a loser yet because he has actually made his compulsory pit stop. So he is going to be able to save himself that obligation later on in the race. So we'll see how that strategic move plays out for him.
Interesting to see if they can hold on to them tyres. They should be able to make it on fuel, I believe. So it's more about looking after the tyres. Working lap 4 now of 25, so it's going to be about a 20 lap run. So as long as they're gentle on them, that should make some good buys. The safer option anyway to take the stop yellow flag.
Yeah, I think so. Even with the prospect of another wreck happening, they do give themselves a little bit of time starting single file to try to avoid that as well. But I did believe I read somewhere that these guys have actually been limited in their fuel capacity to 55 litres. So I'm not 100% sure how much fuel per lap, but I believe they may have to pit to actually get this race done in terms of not their compulsory stop, but actually for fuel.
Safety car is now pulling away from the field. Intercept messages from race control.
always a little bit difficult to do. But, yeah, just trying to guess the intentions of the safety car and so on. Of course, we've got a great race control here with us tonight. Live race control looking after this entire event for us. They've done a spectacular job so far. And yes, it does look as though we have at least one lap to go here under the safety car. And that's just going to give the drivers and their tyre management and everything else a little bit more to think about as they're trying to get those tyres and their cars optimum for green flag racing, which we're hoping is going to come back really soon.
Past world champions, mate. One of those drivers we're going back to. One of them, Michael Schumacher.
One of them was Michael Schumacher.
Right, so we're on one.
Just in case you didn't catch it earlier in the race, our track trivia today, trying to recall all the way back to the 1999 Canadian Grand Prix, how the Wall of Champions got its name. 3 world champions hit that wall in the race and caused them to retire. And one of them was Michael Schumacher. Dave has just correctly identified him. So 2 more to go. We might come back a little later in the race and see if we can identify the last 2. I'm sure there are some guys frantically commenting away at the moment. We're not going to give it yet. Not 2 to guess. We've given you Michael Schumacher.
The biggest one. That was a big punt. Pretty calculated. Out of field. Beast.
Certainly is. So, yeah, it wasn't the best day there for and there was, how about this, for a bonus point, there was a non-world champion who hit the wall that day as well, retiring. And just to give you a clue, he was a teammate of one of the world champions that did retire afterwards. So bonus point if you can tell me who that was at the end. Now I'm really going to stretch your brain. No Google, people.
Yeah, no, I like to think about it.
Right, so drivers definitely not thinking about trivia at the moment. They're all thinking about how they're going to manage this restart.
Should pull away from the pack this time by.
Certainly should.
Now, so the race control is on. Josh Thomas. He can go to safety car line under the bridge coming into the last chicane.
So he's allowed to accelerate after he goes under that final bridge before the last chicane.
That's what I've read the rule as, yes. The visible line, but underneath that bridge is where I'd accelerate.
All right, no problems at all. Well, let's see. Let's hope we can get a cleaner start than last time. We're single file this time. They're likely going to spread out a little bit more. So we'll keep an eye on them. And, of course, keep an eye further back in the pack for those guys that actually made their pit stops earlier on as well. So all these guys you see out the front here do still have to pit, but never mind about that. Joshua Thomas, he's away right up on 2 wheels, almost into the World Champions himself. Is that boding well for him later in the season? James Ruwalt right on his hammer, though. Looks as though he might be making a move into turn 1. Thomas covers, and I think very, very smartly, Ruwalt on cold tyres like everybody else backs out of that one and will find another run.
Pretty clean start so far.
Top 2 just getting a little bit of a break over Darren Colville as well. We saw these guys in front working their tyres pretty hard, so it's a justice. Thomas gets another big...
1 round in the back rear.
1 round. Can you see who it is, Dave?
14. INF.
Manif, he's gone around. That's unfortunate for him. So that was obviously his first start in the series tonight, along with everybody else. It is only round 1. But unfortunate for him, so he'll be needing to come back and probably get some repairs out of that one. But Joshua Thomas still leading from Ruwalt, from Coldwell, from Bell, and Manif did drop himself out of that 5th position, which is since been taken up by John Schultz. So we're watching these guys round the hairpin at the moment. Leaders coming around the hairpin, and it's not a very big gap at all from first to second, is it? We're looking at 6 of the second. So Ruwalt, I've been in a situation where it's been hunting down. That guy is absolutely relentless and just does not go away. So I think that Thomas is in for a very, very long race if he's going to win this one.
I'll tell you, I'm going to get pedal out of the head. All crossed up, one was in the grass.
Oh, they're still getting on, still getting up on the curves and everything. It looks as though Schultz is going to lose a couple of places out of that. He just didn't quite land it nicely enough, did he? Coming off the curves, he's lost 2-3 positions there. Maybe even had a slowdown there or something. He's a number of positions. Jamie Davis and Crowley, the teammates, they've actually taken they've taken advantage of that.
I think Schultz definitely had to slow down. He just picked up. He got to slow down that hairpin, but it's very fine line. It's very easy to do.
It certainly is. I'm looking back a little way through the field now. Everybody seems to be running in a single file. There are sections of this track where single file is the way to do it. You don't want to be trying to push passing moves into certain turns. And I think most people realise that. We're just actually having a look at Cameron Peacock at the moment. He's still driving around with no boot in at all. Oh, we've had one go round. We've had one go round the background. That was one of the JP Simchev cars, and that is Michael Dumbrell, one of the Abruzzi cars. Has looped it there, his nose first in the wall, and just trying to find a way to pull back out, but he has done some serious damage to that Commodore. That's unfortunate for him. That is going to really pay to, unless we get another pace car, they're going to hurt him later on. He's dropped a number of positions there. Going again after his own step, right at the back of that. Mario Bartolini's actually lost the F1 as well, so not sure why. I guess we can find that out from Martin. And find out this race coming to an end very, very quickly tonight. Only got a couple of laps in it, so Joshua Thomas still leads anyway. He's got a roundabout just under a 1 second gap, just over 1 second gap from James Woodrock, who's definitely honest there. And just looking back through the pack, Coldwell's got a fair gap in front and a fair gap behind, running in third, Lady Bell behind him. Then we've got Hudswell, so it has spread out a little bit, which is probably good for the safety of the racing. And just looking at Jamie Davis there, getting a big slide on through the chicane, lost a little bit of time, but he's gathered that one up, and he will lift it quite another day. Tony Gaffer from 26th to 7th in that Penrite car. He's going to be loving life at the moment. And just having a look down the field, battles, any pieces of action that we can sort of focus on, because that battle for the lead will settle. Yeah, I'm just looking at the final lead.
They're definitely, they've got the pace, they're going to run away.
Let's not forget, those guys are going flat out as well, aren't they? We've just had Marty Hansen get a 10-second penalty for rolling something as well. So he's going to have to come down pit lane. And just while I'm looking, you can see the number 22 is getting around without a boot lid as well. So there's a couple of Bannett and Bruce cars getting around out there. But let's not forget as well the likes of Michael Whiting down there, Tyson McAvoy as well, I believe, all came into the pits early on under that safety car, didn't they? So that's probably why we're seeing such a hot pace up front. Thomas, Ruwalt, Coldwell, all those guys have got to want to be stretching that gap as much as possible. So when they have to come in, they've got enough in hand that they don't have to fall behind these guys again.
Really no option for them now, but just go hard. Knowing that they're going to be able to have some more fresh rubber in the laps. They've got the line to laps, whether it be they split it half and half. I guess we'll find out what they do and go now.
Yeah, I've certainly got a lot to get on with that. I can see a few of the guys really not leaving a lot of space between the girls themselves. Tyson McAvoy just looked a little bit ragged there. Not sure if it's one of those things, isn't it? You slide the car once, heats up the tyres, you want to slide again and again and again. You've almost got to have that mental reset to deal with the amount of grip you've got. Pull those tyres off and get them back and get that reaction.
Yeah, reverse these tyres on these new update. You can punish them and you'll feel it later on. They'll feel good for a few laps, but notice you pull that grip. So, and the guys at the front, they'll be using everything they've got. The guys at the pit stop, they've all somewhat got too much pace, mate.
Just while you're talking there, having a look at Brody Scott, he's just put a move on the number 99 of Robert Dennis. Really got just moving under brakes, right on the limit of braking there. Now it looks like he's actually hunting down the number 19 in front of him, driven by Michael Stewart. That scraped and bruised Hot Wheels Mustang coming up behind that one. I believe it looks as though that Brody Scott's actually got a lot of pace in that Commodore tonight. 2, and he's just ranged right up onto the back of Stewart. I wouldn't be surprised to see him put a move on this lap sometime. He's just really got to pick his moment, doesn't he, to make sure that he gets through without any damage. I can absolutely guarantee that Stewart in front of him doesn't want any more damage. That car's already bent up quite a bit. So Brody, a lot of pace in that car, and just taking a little look out, maybe just trying to annoy Stewart in front, but seems to get a much tighter line through the chicane, a much better run out. Just seems to be using a lot more of the track than the car in front, so that's probably where his superior speed's actually coming from. Certainly fixed setups in these series, so no advantage in that regard, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Brody look to make move on down into
the group. Run the gallop behind Alexander Newton. Actually a kid who was all over him. Pass on down to turn 8, but very good time, very hard to get down there. You need hard to be able to make that. 5 cars lining up behind him. It's going to be sizing Newton up very soon.
And I have to say, I'm a little bit baffled as to how the we have a chicane there. Oh, it's getting too wide.
Just way back.
Yeah, a long way back. Cameron Peacock without that boot lid. So I don't know how much grip he's got on the back of that thing, or whether it's affecting it all. It certainly doesn't appear to be affecting it. Yeah, it'd be nice to slip and go through the air, but I can't imagine it being too up in the turns. So it looks like it actually kind of
like a ZB hatchback.
yeah, it very much does, because the back's actually sort of also stoved in a little way too, so it's even missing a little bit of that length that the rest of them have. But yeah, certainly, like I say, not sure how bad that's affected. He's doing a good job to hold it on the track, and just
Very new to this bit there after coming on with that pressure, so actually.
yeah, well, I think the first one off line a little bit that chicane Peacock looked like he was going to make. So I think he's probably still just recovering from that somewhat. And Kid has started to fall back. Yeah, you're right, some fall back there. Newton's really put together a couple of tidy sectors and managed to play. So he's just gapping his grip. Oh, and Kid's made an error. It's just like he snatched the new brakes at the hip, and that's going to cost him at least 1 spot, and potentially 2 if he doesn't get a good run out of the team down this straight. But what he's going to try and do, he's going to tuck into the slipstream, get behind Peacock there, and try to see if he can avoid coming under too much pressure from the car behind now. And Kid has decided to come into the lane there. Obviously not feeling that those tyres are in too good a shape. What lap are we on? 25 lap race, we're on lap 11, so he's almost got the half distance. But you've got to remember as well, he had almost lapped something with the safety car as well. So if those tyres are starting to go away from him already, that doesn't really bode well for him later on.
Yeah, we also had another fish management car.
Okay, so he's decided to come into the pits as well. His teammate Joshua Thomas still leading the way, coming up on a little bit of lap traffic at the moment as well, leading Ruwalt now, James Ruwalt, by 1.9 seconds, and those two have cleared out. They are 12 seconds ahead of Darren Caldwell, still holding down. So that is a monumental gap And these guys really pushing on, and looks as though Daniel Heddershine at 111 Racing Mustang going to go a lap down fairly shortly, it looks like, because the leaders, who are head and shoulders faster than everybody else, are just bearing down in his mirrors. And it's never nice. It's never a nice moment when you realise you're getting put a lap down. It's you always kind of hold on to a little bit of hope up until the moment that happens. And the moment that happens, it's kind of like, okay, well, what can I realistically achieve?
Well, that's it. It's about respecting the blue flags. Basically, you just got to run with what you got and finish really from that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Car and play some strategy, but I haven't. All seem to be running pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. And I wonder if these guys who stayed out during the safety car at the beginning either made a slight miscalculation with their CPS, or perhaps they just weren't quite sure. Whether there was going to be another caution later on that was going to allow them to get that pit stop done. But I really do think the guys who've stayed out have not done themselves any favours. Although the race is yet to play out, but I really do feel they put themselves in something of a disadvantage by not getting it.
Yeah, 100%. It's basically a sort of a rule of thumb, I guess. You're you can at some point. Obviously, these guys working a different strategy. Gotta go for it. They're gonna have a crack. So that's what I thought was best at the time. But I think by the end of it, I think it's not failed.
Yeah, I imagine they may have just not wanted to get bogged down back in traffic. There was quite a wide spread of lap times across qualifying as well. So you've got to remember, getting past some of these slower cars can cost you 3 or 5 seconds. So maybe they thought it worth chancing. At this stage, I would say that it probably hasn't worked out. Give it a few more laps at this kind of pace. Maybe they'll make it work. Maybe. Another pace car throws a spanner in the works, not sure. But just having a look down now just to see if there's any more action in the pit lane. It doesn't look like there is. But where there is some action is the battle for fourth place. Bailey Bell really pounded by Bailey Hanson.
Yeah, it's just healthy battle. He's got a bit of speed over him. Bailey's running a little bit, but patient and pick each moment to make the pass.
He does, doesn't he? And there are a couple of really good passing spots. For such a tight circuit, there are a couple of really good passing spots here. One, of course, into the final chicane, if you can get that run along the straight. It's all about getting out of that hairpin really well. But the other one is into the hairpin itself. There's a lot of big stops here, actually. If you had to identify just two, you'd probably pick those two as being your two main overtaking.
Yeah, definitely. And we've been leading you down the gun path there with the Bailey Bell Hanson. Adam Hanson's actually at that down. He's showing third position. Right in front of Bailey Bell is full position. Darren Cadwell and the JINX ZB Commodore.
Okay, all right. So Marty Hanson all the way down there. So never mind. That's not really a battle. So there is a battle going on now for third. Bailey Bell gets it all crossed up. Just about goes into the back of Caldwell, and that would have been. He would have been hoping that Live Race Control weren't looking at that at the time.
He's done well to pull it up.
He's done well to pull it up, hasn't he?
He's had lights out. We've been silent in the cabin.
Yeah,
I know that feeling.
Yeah, that would not have been good. But anyway, he does look as though he's got a bit of a pace advantage over Caldwell at the moment, doesn't he? I'm not sure if Caldwell made a little bit of a mistake earlier on, although he's got out of that chicane a lot better.
Yeah, great drive.
Yeah, got a really good drive out of there. He's actually gained a couple of car lengths, I should say, on Bell behind. But the one thing that's going to be irritating Bell at the moment, because Bell is trying to focus on the battle in front, and he's got this lapped car up behind him that will not go away. It's obviously got really good pace. Marty Hanson, quick driver, and he's obviously got a lot of pace in that car at the moment. But Bell does not want to be dealing with that. He does not want to be worrying about whether some guy in 31st place and a lap down is going to go barreling into the back of him. He needs to be putting his eyes as he locks up the rear brakes again, and just pitch those rear brakes, and he wants to be fully eyes forward. I think what we're seeing at the moment, a couple of little mistakes creeping in, be as a result of having split attentions.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Bell, Hanson's left to be there. So it doesn't interfere. He can drive as hard as he wants. Where he is right now, he's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing in the rule book that says you have to make your opponent's life easy. They are opponents, they are rivals. You're not there to be friends. You're playing against each other as
Oh,
Bailey
tell
Bell
you what.
locks up again. He's got to do something with that brake balance. It's not working out for him the way he's got it. Got to cool those tyres down, maybe adjust the brake balance a little bit. Not sure if you can actually in the fixed setups in the V8 Supercar. You're
Yeah,
able to adjust the brake balance.
Don't believe you can, but definitely having a crack anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's having a crack, which is what we like to see, and it looks as though they've
on him.
both decided to blink.
Oh, he makes up some time on entry.
The number of tyres, he's just about burned his image into the back of that JP Sinclair Commodore. The number of tyres he's nearly hit it now, and he hasn't done it yet. He hasn't touched him. But it's he's certainly looking very keen.
What was interesting, it looked like he wasn't actually committed to that pit stop, and he sort of just followed him in there and made up all that.
You'd think if he thought he had a pace advantage, he'd want to stay out and try and actually leapfrog him in the pits. But either way, those guys are behind the wheel. We'll take a look at this pit stop, see how they are looking, see who gets out quickly. You'd imagine the pit stops will be identical in length, but no. Bell has gone away better than Caldwell. He's jumped him in the pits. And, if there's a virtual crew down there, they'll be high-fiving one another because that's worked out brilliantly well. Because he's now come out behind right in the middle on cold tyres of Warwick, saw earlier on, and he's fighting on cold tyres. This is going to be really interesting. Up on two wheels.
Fish ganging up him at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, he can smell nothing but fish at the moment. All right, so he's had to tuck in behind the pair of them. And, of course, that's going to leave him vulnerable to Caldwell potentially as well and undo all the good work of the pit stop.
They will have the fresher tyres now, so you can spread the... Warwick, I believe?
Yeah, Bradley Hudswell right in front of him. Paul Warwick's actually leading that. Bailey Bell, he's getting these wicked wiggles under the brakes. You know, he's getting on the brakes as we see teammate on teammate here. It looks as though Hudswell going for that moment on Warwick.
He's giving him a tap, he's gone around.
That is not going to impress the team boss. And I believe that Michael Whiting is the team boss of that team. And he is not going to be thrilled with that. I don't believe. Bailey Bell, all his Christmas has come at once. He's just away up front. But teammate on teammate there, that's a bit cringy.
Yeah, look, unfortunately, I don't think Brock had much option there. Dove in there on the brakes, lost the rears, and it was sort of, he was going around, he sort of made contact with him after the fact, really. Yeah, I don't think there was a penalty for that, but yeah, much you could do.
Yeah, all right, so in the meantime, we've actually seen Thomas go into the pits. Ruwalt has stayed out. And most importantly, Joshua Thomas looks to have made his pit stop and has emerged in front of the guys who pitted early. Morgan's all the way down there in 11th position. I'm just going to go back and check and make sure that I'm not talking absolute rubbish and that Thomas has... No, Thomas... I'm trying to figure out how he's lost that amount of time. I haven't got that indicator in front. But he's definitely lost a fair bit of time and he's there in second position at the moment. There's no damage on that car, so I can only assume that while we're watching that battle, he's actually come into the pits. Okay, Ruwalt in.
30 seconds.
Ruwalt is in, so that would make sense that that was a pit stop. So Ruwalt leading the race now, coming in for his pit stop. So we're going to see where he comes out. So just rolling down the pit lane at the moment, we know he started fairly high up the grid. So he's going to stop on his marks.
Josh is in the last chicane now, coming through the
Okay, so we're going to see how this works out. So you keep an eye on Thomas, I'll keep an eye on Ruwalt. Ruwalt is still stationary, just
Josh
waiting
just
to get
coming
that
across the
service.
control line. Turn one now.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a shortcut into turn one that Ruwalt's going to be able to take here. We're going to see where these guys merge, but it does look as though Thomas has got that done and has emerged in front of James Ruwalt there. So
Thomas has
pretty
done a
much,
great job.
yeah, he has, hasn't he? Those two steaming away out there in front. We thought that the guys who pitted early were going to be able to jump them, but just because of the way the pack spread out, how much time they were losing battling in the pack. And Brody Scott, who we saw earlier on, he's up there in third position now as well, so he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, they've proven us wrong. They worked hard, and we said they had to go, and they did go.
They went all right.
I'm very impressed. It's a great drive from those guys at the front at the moment.
Yeah, they've done a great job, and Michael Whiting's come all the way up there in fourth position as well. He's going to be partly happy to see one of his cars leading the race, of course, himself there, P4. And then, of course, probably would have heard on the radio that two of his other team cars run into him. I'm just not going to make him that happy, but let's focus on the positives for those guys.
Where you want to be, you want to win first. Worry about these.
Yeah, worry about all the rest of it. They can sort that out. But all right, looking a little way down the field, we've got Hudswell still carrying the damage as a result of that.
Oh,
He's just about.
car.
Oh, we've got a safety car coming
Safety
out.
car's
All
being
right,
pulled.
let's see what has gone on there. See if we can actually identify what has taken place.
Have a race control. Yep, safety car's moving down the pit lane right now.
Has there been an accident? Oh, looks as though Gaffer. The Gaffer's actually... Was it Gaffer that spun around? I can't see any damage on that. Here to throw a... I mean, he's run off the track, but I can't see that he's had an accident.
Battle by looks of it. One of the Enright cars. Get a mover in the line.
I don't think it was him.
But I've got contact on the car, but not actually off the road there.
Yeah, and certainly I can't see anything that would indicate that the track would have been blocked or anything like that. I'm not seeing a lot of cars running around with damage or anything that would suggest there'd been some sort of issue. So either way, we've got a safety car.
Well, that's it. You've got
Safety
34 cars out there, so you can't give an eye on it all. But obviously, race control's seen something and happy with it. Call the safety car to press the field, slow it down, and get under control.
Yeah, so we've got the safety car just sitting there at the pit lane at the moment. And the reason it's still sitting there is it does wait to come out to pick up the leader. So he's just waiting for Joshua Thomas to come around. Joshua Thomas is just making his way down to the hairpin at the moment. So he will come driving back up that long back straight with Rewalt in behind him. And if the pace car lasts as long as the last one, we're going to go green with around about 1 or 2 laps to go, which is going to be fascinating.
Time tonight, the virtual motorsport has been in action. First time, obviously, we saw what happened. The second time's a bit of a mystery, but like I said, nevertheless, we've got it, and we're trying to pick up the leader as we speak.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if we've been able to find a Dripping Paints graphic replay of that incident, but I certainly haven't been able to locate it at all. But yeah, all right, so we're under safety car again. The cars are lining up. Get to the order in a minute. Dave, do you want to try and give us the second one of those world champions who ran into the wall of champions and get its name back in 1999?
I haven't been thinking about it. I've been intrigued by this race, to be honest. So I haven't really had a think about it. Oh, what do we? Give me a lap.
Give you a lap. All right, I'll give you a lap to think about them while you're having a think, and definitely not going on to Google. I'm definitely not looking at the comments coming through on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere that we're streaming, which I guarantee you have done a little bit more research into my little quiz than you have done. No checking that. I will run through the race order first, after all those pit stops. So, Joshua B. Thomas leading the way from James Rewaltz. That gap very much reduced under safety car. Brodie Scott, we're focusing on him. He's sitting there in third place. Michael Whiting is fourth. Bailey Bell, we were watching him in the battle earlier on, weren't we? Sitting there fifth position. Jamie Davis. Bradley Hudswell carrying damage now. He's in P7. Darren Caldwell, after running in third and fourth for quite a while, is back down there in eighth position. Josh Morgan, who was our pole sitter, is down there in ninth. That early pitting strategy, despite us thinking it was going to be great, has not worked out for him that well. He's down there in ninth position. Tony Gaffer keeping his top 10 hopes alive. Then we're going Thomas Cool, Paul Warwick, Matthew Kidd, Cameron Veacock with no boot lid, John Schultz, Tim Crowley, Stephen Varga, Tyson McAvoy, Alexander Newton, and Robert Dennis. Those are your top 20 cars.
Here, what are we right? Before I was thinking, maybe can you throw tyres at it and make some places here? If you're down the back, definitely do it. Go for another laps, I'd imagine. So I think you've got nothing to lose back there, but yeah, we'll see what happens if anyone takes the opportunity to take the tyres.
Yeah, you've also got to remember though that if somebody at the back of the pack comes in, takes new tyres, you've generally got a lap at least before they reach full temperature. And I know that, yes, that's the same for everybody, but it always seems to be a little bit harder to warm tyres up from stone cold rather than keep tyres warm when you've already been at. So there's that to think of.
As
All
we
right.
pass world champions, on cue is Alain Prost, one of those drivers.
It's not Prost, mate. He retired about 6 years earlier.
There you go. All right, I threw it out there. When was it? 1990, you said?
1999.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were working 1990.
Well, Michael Schumacher wasn't driving in 1990. You already.
No, that's what I was thinking. I'm thinking, dude, Schumacher's doing all right in 1990.
He started in 91, so you were close.
Okay.
Come on, world champion in the 1999 season. Got 2 to get. Give me one more. We got Michael Schumacher. Not Nigel Mansell. He finished up in 1995.
Oh my goodness.
Mate, I'm going to give you. Very much like Nigel Mansell, this particular world champion also won the IndyCar championship.
I don't know. I'm fried, mate.
Okay, all right. Let me make it a little bit easier. This particular circuit that we're at is named after his father.
Oh, Jacques.
Jacques Villeneuve. There we go.
Oh, Jacques Villeneuve. There we go. We've got one away. There's another one. We're 2 up.
We're 2 of the 3. So, any idea who that fourth random non-world championship driver might be? Bonus point, as yet.
Not Felipe Massa.
It is emphatically not Felipe Massa, although he is Brazilian.
Better get back to the race because
We better get back to the race.
And save me. Thank you, safety car.
Safety car's taking off, so we're going to cross the line to begin lap 22, which is going to give us 1, 2, 3 racing laps, and then it's all going to be over, and we are going to know first ever JINX Super 2 Series winner is going to be. They are going to etch their name into the history books of this series by being the very first winner, and will they be able to go on to capture the very first championship? At the moment, Joshua Thomas in the best position to do that. James Ruwalt is going to have blood coming out of his eyes looking to try and get past Thomas. He can see that victory right there in front of him, and of course everybody back there is going to fancy their chances, probably from second all the way back to 10th. They're going to fancy their chances of taking it. Anyway, here we go. Josh Thomas
straight out of the chicane.
And we're not seeing any big jumps over the chicane this time, and he swoops across to the left-hand side of the track to give himself the best possible run down here into turn 1 proper. Drives it diagonally under brakes across the track. And it's gone in too hot. He's going too hot. And Ruwalt down here on the inside. They're both grappling for grip on those rear tyres, trying to get the throttle down. Looks as though Thomas might recover. There's still an overlap there for Ruwalt, and he's looking. There was not that at all. But I think Ruwalt knows that was probably his best chance of getting that done. But there's no point winding up with both of you in the gravel.
How did Thomas get away with that? How did he get away with? Oh, we got one round. Back round.
Did you see who that was?
The fish.
Oh, Ruwalt's round. Ruwalt's off.
Oh.
He's just oversteered. And cars going left and right around him. He's just oversteered trying to get on the power. Obviously trying to bridge that gap. The hood is gone. The whole front of the car is smashed in. That has ruined it. But James Ruwalt, he's going to be absolutely devastated with that. Dropped all the way back to, where's he dropped back to? 13th position.
No, that's not what you want. He was going for it. He was.
Yeah, definitely. So James Ruwalt back there in the pack. That's given Brodie Scott second place, and he's got, who's he got right there right in his tail? Bailey Bell. Bailey Bell is right up there on his tail. And Joshua Thomas. Bailey. He has had a good night, but Joshua Thomas is having a very good night. All his Christmases have come at once. He's right up there, free and clear away in front of the grid, and everybody's seemingly now fighting over the minor positions.
Up on two. Last chicane.
Yeah, it's giving Bailey a look, hasn't it? He's going left, he's going down. Probably see him. Oh, I would have thought that that Brodie would have taken a much more defensive line into turn 1, but he hasn't done. He hasn't wanted to compromise his exit there. Got a little bit of curve. That's put Bailey off a little bit. You can just see how heavy and awkward these supercars are, especially on what are probably still tyres coming up the tempo.
Yeah, and we can see the teammates. What looks like behind me. Al and who's behind him?
Davis.
Yeah.
Jamie Davis. And I think that we may have seen that Lachlan Manif may have been involved in that. He may have been that car that you saw going around, or may have had something to do with it because he's just been given a 10-second penalty as well. So unfortunate for Lachlan. Bailey Bell just ranging up on the back of Brodie Scott now. This is probably the battle to focus on at the moment. Battle for second place. Brodie Scott frantically defending from Bailey Bell, and he's got a horde of cars in there behind him as well. And it's the worst thing. I mean, you're in a position that you want to be. You're in the best position of all of these guys behind. You've just got this pack.
Oh, he's got a dive. Oh, he's got.
What was that?
And he's going around. Who's that? Is that Whiting?
That's Hudswell. That's Hudswell. He's put the move on all Dan Ricciardo down the inside. And I think possibly the 92 there was actually blinking as well, which wouldn't have held. He's certainly blinking as far as I can see. And yeah, and Hudswell's actually just locked the rear tyres and spun that one out. So that's really unfortunate for him. But it looks as though Jamie Davis having some shocking connection problems back there at the moment. That's actually, we've just seen the battle for second sort of spread out. So just looking a little way back. And it looks as though Darren Caldwell looking to put a move potentially on Josh Morgan, our pole sitter. And all over the back. Whoa! Josh Morgan right up onto, was nearly into the wall of champions. Not sure, he's still got both his mirrors just about. But oddly enough, they really did his pace too badly coming out of that turn, and he comfortably makes the turn in front of Caldwell.
Intense here now. We've got what we've got. We're on a penultimate lap actually.
Yeah, second to last lap. This one, and then lap 25, and over. Everything was looking really good for Josh Thomas.
So Morgan's run right, Cadwell's all over him. He's going to have a look down at turn 8 here. Hard to make the pass here. Let's can get it done. He's going to look, I think, we're back out of it.
Yeah, very, very hard braking point down there, isn't it? So I think it's probably a good move on his part to just live to fight another day. He's got another lap and a half to get this done.
Fighting on the grass, he's run wide through turn 8, having a battle with him. Another teammate actually.
Yeah, it looks like he's got to slow down. I reckon Whiting's got to slow down there because a lot of cars have just gone straight past him. And looks as though, yeah, guys taking dives left, right and centre. I think that's Jonathan Ben has just got down the inside of Whiting as well. So that's actually dropped Michael Whiting all the way back to 17th position. He has lost a ton of positions. Don't forget he was in 4th place earlier. All right, we've got a big battle now on for second place. Bailey Bell's we just missed that, but Bailey Bell's got through into P2 ahead of Brodie Scott. So that position has switched, and Brodie is going to go absolutely hell for leather trying to get that one back on this, the final lap of the race. But it's in a CG Motorsports sandwich at the moment. He's got Bailey Bell up there in front. All my B's are getting mixed up. Bailey Bell in front of Brodie Scott, and then Jamie Davis with his connection issue and a name I can actually pronounce in there behind him, but flashing away. So that's going to be driving Brodie absolutely mad. And it does appear as though Bailey Bell has managed to extend that gap just enough that if he doesn't make any mistakes, he should be able to bring home that P2.
There's a big battle in behind there. Someone had a massive dive, but they've run wide.
Yeah, I think it was Caldwell. Caldwell's actually.
Yeah. They're still going and banging doors here.
Still going at it. It's the last lap. Why not? Bang doors. You've got them. That's what they're there for. And,
position as he stands right.
Oh, we've got one tagged in the wall.
Oh, he's going to get a slow down.
That race on Oscar, Thomas Cool. There's just so much going on, I don't even know where to look, but it's still
Schultz
on.
has had an issue.
Gaffer's got through. Caldwell coming back down the inside now. Gaffer was momentarily ahead of Caldwell. Caldwell's managed to get him back. It looks as though, who is it? Morgan taking a look up the inside there. Ruwalt on an absolutely steaming recovery drive. He's coming back through the well, sitting there now just pulling up to 8th position. So hell of a recovery for him with absolutely no front of his car left.
Had to cross the line. He takes the first victory of JINX Super2 Series.
Fantastic. He can be well happy with that, and I'm sure he will be. Bailey Bell 2nd, Brodie Scott 3rd, Jamie Davis 4th, and wow, I'm going to have to catch up breath after that one and bring all the final positions.
Very intense.
That's what a start. What a start to the season.
Go through there. That's safe. Lost things up the end. Having battles left, right, and centre there. I think everyone was having a crack.
Yeah, and take note, supercars. Take note, supercars. These cars have full body cars. You can bang doors and it's fine. He just showed that. So let's see more of that in real life. We've done it here. Let's see it in real life. We want to see guys getting into each other like that. That was an absolutely spectacular race. Loved it. Fantastic.
Great race, especially from Josh Thomas. Didn't have it all his own way. He did have Rudolph for company. Didn't fall his way later in the stage of that race, but they can't take it away from Josh here. He's done a magical job.
Nice, an absolutely fantastic job, and that's going to ease the pain for the Itchy Motorsports cars. They had a mixed night tonight, didn't they? Some that have had great runs, and other guys which have looked like they were going to have great runs, and then they fell by the wayside somewhat. But take a bow, Joshua Thomas. You got that done. You did not take our advice on strategy. Best possible thing you could have done, and you've just taken that one by the scruff of the neck. Had your lead wiped out a couple of times because of safety cars and still got it done. So congratulations, take a bow. In fact, take a bow everyone who got to the end of that one, especially the top.
Yeah, no, it was a great end of the race there. Kept us sorted, which is always good. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, what a show.
Josh on his slow down lap, flashing his lights, giving the crowd a bit of a wave there on his cool down lap.
They do burnouts in this.
They're allowed to, only the winner. But
it looks like he's coming in. It looks like he's going to be all sensible on us.
Data. Real racer right
there. Go in there and get that data. No, light them up. Rip the back of the car apart. We want to see steel belts.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we're here for. But anyway, so drivers coming in. Some guys have not raced, obviously. We had a couple of retirements there. We might just run you through who they were. Looks as though, I think Stephen Varga was 5 laps down at the end. Actually running. Mario Vartanian did get disqualified on, so he finishes 20 laps behind. And Tony Clark, didn't see too much of him after the start. I think he was first lap incident, or first couple of laps, because he finished 22. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag. There's some guys who had a good night, some guys who had a terrible night, some guys that had an average night, which I guess you expect.
No, who was busy all night was the race control, by the looks of things. Penalties to be handed out here and there, and I think there's going to be a few post-race penalties after that last lap.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a run, don't you?
Oh, that's it. No point showing up and thinking what might have happened, mate. Have a go, have a crack, and they did.
Yeah. Don't die wondering. Never die wondering.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm just having a look through the Discord there, because obviously we like to bring in the winning driver, and we're just waiting for the winning driver. Can't actually see him sat there in Discord at the moment. Just having a look to see if there's anyone there who finished up the top. So I can't see any of our top 5 actually there and available. It might even be worth just grabbing a P6, Tony Gaffer, in for a quick. What do you reckon? All right, so we'll have a quick chat to Tony Gaffer, and we'll see if our winner comes in the meantime. Tony Gaffer, Edward Foster here for Sim Shed Broadcasting. You had I reckon you occupied just about every position in that race. Talk us through.
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. Post what I could, my lap times. Watch sort of what was happening around me, and yeah, it just sort of went out really well.
Gained 20 positions. You started 26th place. You finished 6th place. One can imagine in there that there were a couple of intense battles. We saw you having a little bit of side by side at the hairpin and so on. Talk us through some of those.
Yeah, so those last lap, couple of laps were quite intense. Fighting sort of top 10 towards the end there, and then there were a few battles in front. Great battles with just Fishy cars. Just yeah, lucky enough to make a few.
Yeah, well, that was awesome. It was quite a show. I guess with this being such a new series, no one really knew what to expect from it. Whether it was going to be whether it's going to be very rough and tumble, or whether people are going to try and play it safe at the beginning. But what a show you guys put on tonight, and you were definitely part of that. So congratulations, starting off the new season with P6. Have you got anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, just a quick shout out to the Penrite, um, Penrite 10 temps, D9s, and
Fair.
also the favorite JP and the boys have done get this series practice. Yeah.
Certainly have been short on practice sessions through the week, have we? So, yeah, good to see all of that coming out tonight and resulting in a really good race. Obviously, time well spent and well worth it. So, Tony Gaffer, thank you very much. And hopefully, we'll see you up here again, maybe with a podium next time out.
Cheers, boys. Looking forward.
Done.
Right, that was Tony Gaffer, our sixth place getter. I keep waiting to see one of the top three pop into the chat, but I can't see them.
Brody Scott. Third place. Brody Scott's up in.
Oh, excellent. We'll grab Brody Scott in for a chat. And Dave, I'll let you do the.
What? Brody, Dave from Simshed TV.
Hey mate, how's
Yeah.
things?
Good. Third place tonight.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky actually. I was part of the first lap incident. I think it was on turn 3 or 4. The car got damaged, and I was lucky to the safety car come out, and I was able to continue around until the pit window was open. So obviously pitted, topped up with fuel, changed tires, and so I was on the tires from same tires from lap 3 pretty much for the remainder of the race. So those last few laps I was struggling.
I was going to ask you how you play up and down the field, so it's hard to sort of keep track of most of them. Yeah, stopping early worked for you. I just stopped working. But yeah, you were having some great battles up and down the field. How did you find the racing?
It was awesome. Very close. Everyone's pretty much similar. There was a few incidents, but I was involved in a couple of them, which wasn't my fault. I was driving around, sort of thing. But mate, it was cool. Really good series, and look forward to the rest of it.
For us up here in the booth, that's for sure. Any sponsors or shout outs you want to give out, mate?
Being a privateer, it's all me, mate. So if any teams out there want to look for a recruit someone, just keep watching me, mate. I'll improve.
Oh, I'm sure JP will pick you up, mate.
That's cool. That's cool.
All right, no problems at all. Well, thanks very much, Brody Scott. P3, great way to kick off the season.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
All right, so we've actually got. I want to bring up our second place driver, Bailey Bell, but he's down there in the stewards room at the moment, I think. But it looks like it might even be the waiting room. So what we might do is we'll bring Bailey Bell in, who's our second place getter, and then we'll get Joshua Thomas, who's down there as well. Just trying to actually bring him up. I will get there in the end. Not quite let me drag him quite as well as I want to do. Bailey Bell, Edward Foster here from Sim Shed Broadcasting. Second place looked like a frantic race with an even more frantic finish. Talk us through it.
Yeah, no, it was a really good race. The only thing was I was struggling to see where I was going to come out because a few people went for the undercut, but after the last safety car, I knew we were on here, so just went for it, and then I realized that Brody had done so many laps on his tires, and I was so hungry for it, and I'm so happy we got it done.
Yeah, that's fantastic work, mate. Like, just answer me this: how sketchy were some of those braking moves towards the end of the race? We saw you like right in there behind a couple of other cars. I think you were up behind Caldwell at one point. And honestly, we were certain that you were going to go into the back of him, but you fought it each time and never put a mark on anybody in that scenario. But always looked to be on the edge of an accident, but never had one, and was scorchingly quick while you're at it.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough one. I actually picked up a new set of pedals 2 days ago, so I've just been learning the load cell the past 2 days, and I think it was pretty obvious in that race.
Yeah, well, mate, you pulled it up. You didn't hurt anybody, and you came away with P2. So fantastically well done, and great start to the season. Well, you probably, if you were like us, you had no idea how this race was going to come away with a P2 as a fantastic effort. And just before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to while you're here?
Yeah, first up, I'd just like to give a shout out to our team sponsors, Total IT Solutions Brisbane, Hoagie Connect, Stewart's Wholesalers, and just a huge thanks to the team at CGU, Anton and Tim for getting the cars ready for the series. It's been such a pleasant experience with them, and I'm super looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, as we are too, mate, as we are. So that's absolutely fantastic. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
You, Buddy Bell, our second place getter. And May, just let Dave, if you want to have a chat to our winner, Joshua Thomas, who's joined us up here in the booth as well, and have a little bit of a run through the guy who's written his name into the history books of this series as the first ever winner of the JINX Shifters Super 2 Series.
Certainly. Josh, well done, mate. How's it feel?
That
That was
go,
an
Josh.
yeah, that was an awesome
you're
race.
right.
Yeah, no, thanks again. Awesome race. I did my best job to bottle it towards the end there, but I gave it a good crack and it was good fun. So
Yeah, no, you did. You definitely did a good job there, mate. I'm just looking at times and pace as well, which is a 1:35 flat. So definitely had the pace and had Rudrock with you for a little bit there, but you managed to just that healthy gap and weren't sure how it was going to pan out after that safety car because you did out and I sort of had my doubts that it was going to work for you, but yeah, you put your head down and made that gap. Were you planning on to stay out at all? Process there.
yeah, well, I honestly come to the race. It would go with whatever came. I was aware there was safety cars, so a few of my teammates pitted on lap one. I thought I'd go against the grain, and look, it worked out for me this time. But yeah, there was no real plan to it. It was just adapt to whatever came at me.
Oh, very good. Well, it worked out well for you in the end there. Then I'm driving and you made it work. So congratulations on that. Yeah, no, I guess you're our first guy, first winner. Got to be pretty special.
Yeah, it's got a little ring to it, doesn't it? It's good. So yeah, guys.
The drummers, all right. Basically, yeah. Before we let you go, is there any shout outs or anyone you want to thank or who gets it done for you?
Yeah, a big thank you to the boys at Fishy Motorsports for taking me in on late notice. Those boys have made me feel welcome, and they've pushed me to my limits, which is good. So good bunch of blokes. Yeah, big shout out to them. Good jobs.
Oh, and very well done to yourself. Great drive.
Thanks heaps, boys.
All right, so that was our race winner, Joshua Thomas. And for a guy who's just been brought on at a late stage, I bet the team at particular running at all. So we'll just move on to Joshua Morgan, who was our top qualifier for this. Started on pole and split strategies with his teammate. Went into the pit very early on under that first safety car. And unfortunately, we thought he was on the strategy that was going to win the race. It didn't quite turn out that way. Josh, commiserations. Great driving anyway. Talk us through the race.
Yeah, g'day guys. How are we? Yeah, unfortunately, tried the
Shit. Dropped him out.
again.
Sorry about that, Josh. I'm making all kinds of mess here. We'll put it down to the first broadcast.
That's all good. We all good?
We are all good.
Go
We're all
on,
good.
Josh.
Please continue.
No dramas at all. Yeah, so got unfortunately copped some contact under safety car as I rejoined the field after pitting, and that didn't sort of help us. So repitted and then got sort of hit in the rear end again as we were trying to field. So it sort of unfortunately just ended up people being a little impatient at times and things like that. But all teething issues, I would imagine. So yeah, all in all, pretty happy with the result. Sort of fought my way back up to 7 and yeah, reasonable result for most.
So how did that damage actually affect you? Guys, obviously you showed really good pace in the qualifying, but running the majority of the race with damage, did you find it took the edge off your pace a little bit, or was it just?
I did, yeah, for sure. I was listening to JT's lap times coming through crew chief flat out, and I couldn't get anywhere near those 35s. Anything like that. After that, I was sort of high sevens. The rear of the car just wouldn't settle on braking. Yeah, just had no pace basically. Drive of the car was good, but under brakes it was just all over.
All right. Well, unfortunate. Still come home with a P7, which out of a field of 30 odd guys is not a bad result at all. Looking
thanks.
forward to the next round. What are you expecting there? Are you expecting to be able to put on a similar qualifying performance?
I'd like to hope so. I think we all like to put on a good qualifying performance, if I'm honest, mate. But yeah, it's certainly something I'll practice during the week with the boys, and we'll all set a team session up and see if we can't push each other the best we can do. Go from there.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for having a chat with us. Anyone you'd
problem.
like to give a shout out to before we?
Yeah, look, I'd like to first and foremost, I'd like to thank Mike, team owner, absolutely, like for all the guys from Fishing Ads. Pleasure to be part of. Also, Steve from Simfinity and they're a great business. Ignite Design for our paints, Van Diemen clothes. That's
All right, fantastic. Well, solid run for you guys tonight. Fantastic work, and we'll see you out here again next time.
thanks, boys. Have a good one.
All right, so I won't chuck anybody else out that I'm trying to talk. But we've got to round this one up, and what we will actually do is we're going to go through our full race results now. Obviously, we're fairly well familiar with our top three. Of course, Thomas winning it from Bell and Scott, but then of course Jamie Davis there in place, Darren Caldwell. After all of that action we saw him involved in, coming home in fifth. Got Tony Gaffer sixth, Josh Morgan, as we mentioned, seventh place. James Ruwell, after that late spin, P8, he'll be filthy with that. Cameron Veacock, bootless in ninth. Warwick, Kid, Schultz, and Ben coming home in 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Michael Whiting, 14th. Thomas Cool, after that run across the grass, comes home in 15th. Robert Dennis, Benjamin Siren, Ben Morris, and Hayden Harrison. Daniel Hetterscheid round out your top 20. Then we've got Chris Kerr, Michael Dumbrell, Bradley Hudswell after that spin at the hairpin, Marty Hanson, Alexander Newton, Dean Albans, Lachlan Maneath, Tim Crowley, Tyson McAvoy, Michael Stewart, Stephen Varga, Mario Vitanian, and Tony Clark rounding out that field. So that's going to basically be your finishing order, and I imagine the championship order is going to be very, very similar. Sure if you have that up in front of you, Dave, at the moment, but in any event, what we might do just before we round this one is track the last bit of track trivia. Still got to finish this one off. So, 1999 Canadian Grand Prix, the Wall of Champions gets its name. 3 world champions and another driver, a teammate of one of those world champions, comes to grief against that wall, putting them out, and naming that wall forever the Wall of Champions. We've got Michael Schumacher, and we've got Jacques Villeneuve, who, Dave Douglas, was the other world champion who came to grief against that wall in 1999.
It was. I've already said Michael Schumacher, haven't I?
You already said Michael Schumacher. He was the first one you said. Schumacher, Villeneuve.
I know, you got me. Give it to us. Let's hear it.
Damon Hill. Damon Hill was the third
Damon
world
Hill,
champion.
hey?
Damon Hill, very sad day for me. Damon Hill, my driver back in the day, so upset at that one. And the odd one out, the non-world champion, who was actually a sports car champion, who came to grief against that wall, was the Brazilian Ricardo Zonta. Well, there you go. Luckily, I have all these useless facts up here where most people keep life skills and
I'm glad we got there in the end.
things about their job and stuff like this. I just have facts. So,
okay.
Stick. So what we might do actually, because you you guys would be aware that this series was massively oversubscribed to such an extent that we had 2 splits. There was actually another race going on at the same time as this race. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring up the top 2 from the second split. And if our kind director, JP, is enough to drag these guys into the broadcast booth so they can talk us through their race, and then we'll wrap everything up for you. Just looking for them. I thought they were ready to go. Apparently, they're not actually ready to go. They're wandering around out there in the virtual paddock somewhere. So hopefully we're able to pick them up. In the meantime,
round 2, we go to Sebring.
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 With those bumps in these cars.
Yes, it's going to be fun. I think not a bad track if you can get a handle on it.
I'm going to be hoping, for the driver's sake, that the fixed setup that those guys are using is rather damped.
It's another technical track, Sebring, and all full of different reasons, I think, compared to this one. So it's almost night and day coming here to Sebring.
Well, Sebring's basically night and day to anywhere. It's such an outlier. It's such a unique track. Now, would our director like to perhaps let us know whether or not we have a winner or a second place there to speak to? Don't actually have them. Don't actually. All right. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to wrap up this broadcast here. Now, as you would be aware, unless you were living under the biggest of Ayers rocks somewhere, that Holden, unfortunately, not going to continue as a car brand at all. It had already ceased as a manufacturer or so ago, maybe 2, and now it's going to cease. The badge, the name, everything to do with Holden is going to be completely gone. So as a result, we've actually put together this little tribute to Holden to actually finish out our broadcast for tonight. So we'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for watching from both myself and Dave. Hope you enjoyed this race as much as and we'll be back in a week's time for Sebring. But in the meantime, have a look at our tribute to Holden.